Hi and welcome. This is the last video in a 4-part series introducing you to the Nordic Circular Economy Playbook by Nordic Innovation. This video will focus on how you can implement, pilot and scale your business. We hope you can benefit from these tools. Now I will hand it over to Alexander.
Thank you, Hanna. We will now speak to some of our guests on how they are launching new circular business models. And first, we're joined by Tommy Malinen from Valtra, the tractor manufacturer in Finland. Tommy is going to share some of his thoughts on how Valtra is developing and launching new circular services and disrupting the more traditional ways of doing business. So welcome, Tommy.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here.
Can you start out by briefly explain the Connect service that you've implemented at Valtra recently?
Definitely, my pleasure. So Valtra Connect, as we call it, is a telemetry solution, and it records tractor activity and the GPS movements continuously and connects all data to our cloud service. So it can display history and real-time data on your mobile device, and you can access the data anytime, anywhere. This data enables our customers and the customers and Valtra service partner to anticipate maintenance needs and react faster to solve minor issues and avoid extra visits to your service center. So, in practice, the tractor is really talking all the time to the cloud, telling how she's doing, if there are any error codes, if the service is coming close, etc. We are measuring more than 150 different tractor parameters from the tractor every second. Valtra Connect lets customers manage their tractor fleet, letting them follow how productive contractors are, which work has been completed, and what still needs to be done. It gives you the information you need to ensure optimum utilization rates, reduce contractor costs, and improve the machine uptime. As said, our customers can access the Connect data with their mobile phones. They can see fuel consumption, check the machine location, plan for service, and access all tractor information, for example, the extensive user manuals. Our field service team, when customers have granted the access for them, can monitor remotely the tractor health and be proactive on service and problem solving. Especially now, during the COVID-19, this remote support has been very valuable and helped our customers and service teams to be safe and still increase the uptime.
Very interesting to hear this. And can you go a bit more into details on how you develop and also launch the service, but also the critical success factors that you see from Valtra?
Yeah, definitely. So originally, we have developed this service supported by AGCO, who is the mother company of Valtra, a US-based very big agriculture company. And today, Valtra Connect is a global service for the whole AGCO fleet. Service is very popular today, and you can fit Valtra Connect to any Valtra model. Even with certain limitations, it is possible to implement the Connect service on our older models. In majority of our models, Valtra Connect is a standard service today, and a 5-year contract is included when the tractor is purchased. Connect is a part of Valtra's smart farming offering. This includes a lot of other digital innovations, such as the Valtra Guide, automatic autopilot, and a smart programmable touchscreen and programmable controls for the tractor.
We hear that it's really important to involving the customers and partners when succeeding with circular economy and circular business models. How did you involve your customers in this process with Connect at Valtra?
Yeah, this is an excellent question. So, and this, we are really going deep in Valtra's, at the core of Valtra's strategy. So when developing customer-focused solutions at Valtra, so we really focus on knowing our customers and on fully understanding our customers' needs. So these needs will then be answered by creating the right products for our customers, complemented with excellent services and digital innovations. And this, we believe, will lead in the best tractor experience in the industry. So when developing this Connect service, we involved our customers, the farmers, in our development team, and they really said what the key ingredients are. They provided extremely valuable insight in the customer experience. This means how to use and what information is needed in the everyday work. It was very clear from the beginning that it is a mobile-first service. Our customers want to use the service with their smartphones.
You already addressed a bit around the critical success factors. From a Valtra overall perspective, what do you see as the main learnings from your process in this?
Yeah, definitely. There were several valuable key takeaways. And I think firstly, when the customer benefits are clear, and this comes from the interaction with the customers, then the take rate of the service, it will be high. Secondly, we have now until today rolled out the service over 17 different countries. And as it is a cloud service, data transmission service, you really need a very good operator partner to make these kind of things happen. Thirdly, customer is the king. The customer's voice is critical when designing this kind of services. This applies on ongoing feedback collection and the implementation of the service. And finally, make it super easy. That is where we at Valtra are very good at. One step less design principle applies for us.
Thank you so much for sharing and joining us today, Tommy. Next, we're joined by Erie Arpanan from Sitra, the Finnish Innovation Fund. Erie is going to share his thoughts on how companies can adopt new circular business models. Welcome, Erie.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, from your perspective and experience, how can companies gradually transition from more traditional business models, for instance, selling a product, to new business models, selling a service?
Yes, actually, you have to have a need for change. And we all know that there is. And the other one is that you have to have a viable business case in ahead of you. So now when there is a huge demand for sustainable solutions and you have to change that, bring that also to your businesses and to your business model. And once you have understood the need and the demand, then you usually do the very traditional sort of, you have to advise, make a plan, you have to pilot, make an experiment, explore, and if it's working, then start to figure out how to deliver, how to adapt that to our operational models, and how to scale. So actually the steps are rather simple, but the decision for the change is crucial. So once you have the motivation, I think that you can do it. And now with the help of a new technology, digitalization, data possibilities, you can start to really be customer orientated and have a possibility to co-innovate with your customers based on their demand and even go beyond. And that's why we actually created this playbook as well, to help companies to take these steps with starting with the pain points with the customer, starting with the inefficiencies, what type of business model would address those sort of challenges, or what type of business model would address the new customer engagements that are there. And those are the ones usually that brings you also new revenue, because traditional business models usually brings you cost savings. But now you have a possibility to really start new ones with the revenue generation, like we heard earlier from Valtra, for example.
So working across the Nordics, with your experience, do you have an example of a company or companies that's really been successful in integrating new business models and transition to circular economy?
Yes, we do. And like I said, these sort of more traditional ones, like extending the product life cycle or product use, or and so it usually is about remanufacturing, refurbishing, new type of services, predictive service models, and so on. So more like prolonging life cycles, and then also remanufacturing. And many of these new ones, actually, these companies who adopted these new ones started with the traditional ones. So it's an evolution with them as well. Like Valtra is a good example. They started with remanufacturing, and it's still there, remanufacturing the engines. And then you have a collateral, or deposit. And once you think that the hours are full, you call the motor back, and the customer gets part of the investment back. That's sort of traditional. That it's very widely spread among Nordic countries. And for example, ABB has gone beyond that. They have created a motor hotel for used electric motors. So once your engine is about to go broken, or it's already that, you can bring your motor in the hotel and you received a refurbished, remanufactured motor back to you. So that's sort of already a new way of doing this. But now with this, actually we have companies who can really sell the product as a service, as an outcome, or as an what else? So you can really change that, and Tamturbo is very good one, because it's a sort of clean tech company with the Superb turbo engine, and it's located actually in Finland. It's still SME, and they started with taking off the oil because of the whole compressor, and once they had that, it is also fully digitalized, so you can remotely operate that. So you can bring that to your customer's site, on industrial site, and then companies can also have a possibility to buy that as a service. What does it mean in practice? They pay by the cubic meter of air they use in their processes, and they only pay based on this cubic meter they use per month, and they pay monthly fee to Tamturbo. And that's also requires something, because usually requirements from the company side as well, meaning the producer. You cannot afford usually when you are SME to have that in your balance sheet, because the balance sheet extension will be too high. So you have to have a third party who might buy this first, and then they will lease it back and bring to the site of a company, and then company will pay you the fee, and you pay the rent to the investor who might have bought it. And this is already happening, and it's really sort of change maker, also sort of change maker in their businesses as well. And it's the same is happening. For example, we had a small company, or not so small, but SME, who is a furniture producer company, and they produce usually chairs and tables to the meeting rooms and auditoriums. And once we went through with them this whole process, and they were participating in our workshops, they started to figure out what would be it like to have a meeting room as a service. So they would provide everything inside the meeting room with their partners. Because usually when you change your business model to as a service model, you need an ecosystem of companies to join you. And it was very close to happen, but actually the hotel chain that they had their partnership with them, they were not ready yet. But what does it mean for them? They started to figure out their whole business culture. Instead of selling one chair, why don't we sell many chairs as a service? And tables. But they have gone beyond that. They also can sell you a stand or auditorium almost as a service. So it's also a cultural change, because usually the resistance and barriers are within the culture, the mindset, the values, and how people are behaving, or how they are doing the businesses and conducting businesses in the companies. But there are many others, and I really encourage you to look the playbook. You have many of these companies who are already trying, and of course, in the beginning, it's only part of your business portfolio, and it takes time while you can make the change internally and also within your operational models and in your all functions and processes. But start with a little, and then start to grow with that. And I think that these steps, which I mentioned, are actually widely used. Have a vision, start to figure out what business model would address your new possibilities or challenges, create a value proposition, a value case, think about your capabilities, technologies, and then start to implement, start to explore and make a pilot. And once you have done it, figure out how to scale that.
Thank you so much, Erie, for sharing your experience, connecting some of the dots, and also joining us today.
Thank you.
I will now hand it over to Hedda Brande from Accenture, who will talk about piloting and scaling circular opportunities.
Thank you, Alexander. In the previous videos, we have been looking at how to identify circular opportunities and how to develop them further. But what happens next? How do we actually implement these opportunities? The playbook outlines 3 steps of how companies typically approach this. And this also summarizes what Tommy and Erie mentioned earlier on in this video. The first step we have is explore and shape. And this is where you actually start to build your solution and prototype it. And it's important that you bring in your customers early on to test the prototype in terms of their customer needs and requirements. And the business model, or the traditional business model, doesn't change. This is rather a project team working on this prototype. But you are starting to opening up the company boundaries to other actors, for example, your customers. And one example is how the Finnish manufacturer Wärtsilä is doing this. They have established 4 digital acceleration centers to develop ideas. So these centers, they follow agile methodologies, and they bring in customers to test ideas. For example, in a 6-week sprint that they did, they identified over 100 ideas for a digital vessel project that they're currently doing, which were then again developed after a sprint. So a great example of how you can involve your customers early on. The second phase is the attract and win phase. And this is where the prototype is actually brought to the market in a pilot. So you pilot your solution on selected customer groups to test this. And at the same time, even though the traditional business model stays the same, you start to also change the organization. You start to embed the notion of customer centricity. People from different functions are starting to contribute, and you are slowly opening up more the company boundaries to start to shape this ecosystem. And one example here is what Ruter is currently working on. Ruter is the public transport company here in Norway. And their goal is to reduce the environmental footprint. And by doing this, they would like to reduce the number of cars on the roads and offer an end-to-end solution to their travelers. So they are partnering up with different mobility providers to create that end-to-end experience. And one of the pilots that they're currently running is a pilot with a municipality here in Norway and the market mobility provider TIR. So the customers or the travelers are offered electrical bicycles and scooters that they can take from a public transport hub to their end destination, and thereby providing a seamless experience. So a very good example of how also Ruter is starting to opening up their company boundaries and shaping this ecosystem. And the last phase is the scale phase. And this is where you scale the successful pilots from, for example, one location to multiple locations, or one customer group to several customer groups. And this is when the traditional business model is actually discontinued, and when the organization really starts to embark on that circular transformation journey. And one example here is Konecranes, the Finnish manufacturer of lifting equipment and material handling. In 2013, Konecranes developed a material handling as a service offering. So instead of selling a material handling system, they are rather leasing it to their customers. And they started out with one pilot, and then when this was successful, they scaled it across locations. And they got very good feedback from the customers. The customers appreciated that they, for example, didn't have to invest in upfront costs or to have the risk of actually owning the product themselves. They were only leasing it. But of course, Konecranes had to also work on changing the culture and changing the organization, because there were some elements that weren't familiar to the old organization. But this has been very exciting to see how Konecranes has launched this offering, and very fun to see the success that they have actually achieved during this. So this summarizes the phases. I think the key here is to be able to bring offerings to the market which suits your customer needs, but which are very well proven before you actually launch it. And now I will hand it over to Hanna to conclude.
Thank you for watching. We hope that you found these videos useful in your circular journey. You can explore and start working with the playbook and the toolkit on our website. Now it's your turn. Good luck.